the interview is not talking about much more than what we discussed in chapter 10, um, outside of, you know, things that we probably already know. So to just be a brief little recap. To that point, please know that your all grades are done except if you obviously turn something in past 8 o'clock on yesterday, then it's not done. So you can go ahead and check your grades. If I have comments, please make sure you read the comments and resubmit if needed. A lot of you, I want to say a lot, but most times it's not the people that come to class, it's the people that try to do it on their own. Those career plans, we talked over and over again about making sure that your career plans have what SMART goal. I still got some, oh, I want to be happy when I grow up. I'm like, okay, not sure how we're going to use that. But anyway, um, remember your career plans are supposed to be career plans, not financial plans, not personal plans. It shouldn't be, I want to graduate this course. Still got some of that. It's supposed to be a long-term plan, something 5 years out or more. Like, what is the ultimate goal? And a lot of you, I put end dates on. There were some people that missed that and they weren't understanding what that meant. An end date is my long-term goal is to be a master electrician by 2031. Not just my long-term goal is to be a really good at an electrical field. My long-term goal is to be a master electrician by 2031. So 2031 is the end date. So if you're going to be watching this video, please make sure that if I gave you a note to put an end date on your career plan, it's for step 2 that you'll be doing today. And we'll get more into that. Also, last week I asked people to give me a name. We want you to start to go promote yourself. We'll be talking about networking in the next 2 weeks, and we want you to start that process. You have your long-term goals. Go talk to somebody. Let them know what your long-term goals are. Last week, I just wanted the name. I see some people actually even talk to people already. But if you did, that's fine. You're just going to have to resubmit that assignment for this Wednesday, because by this Wednesday, I want you to have spoken to them, and you're going to be giving me your feedback on how that conversation went. But last Wednesday, I just wanted to know. You could say, I'm talking to Sarah Jane, my next door neighbor. She's a supervisor. That's all I wanted to know. And then you talk to Sarah Jane. And then this Wednesday, you're going to let me know how the conversation went. If you're like, what do I talk about? Well, you're going to ask for advice. I did give you some questions if you want to use those. But if you're thinking seriously about your career, you should be talking to Sarah Jane about your career and getting her feedback. Let it be a conversation. Remember, you're trying to pick their brain to get any type of insight that they may have about being successful. That's all you're trying to do. Shelva, I'm not sure if you still have a question or if your hand is raised, but go ahead, Jonathan.
You said that you provided questions for us to ask if we didn't have any questions. Where can we find those?
They're on the assignment.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
thank you.
there's a attachment. If you don't see it, let me know, but they're on the assignment.
Okay. From this week or from last week when we had to say the name?
From last week when you had to say the name, but also I think they're in this week's too.
Okay.
If you want to like just go to Wednesday since it's open and look, this Wednesday or last Wednesday, I think the question should be in both.
Okay.
Shelva, do you still have a question?
Yes. Is it okay if I use my wife
Mm-hmm.
okay, cool.
Absolutely. I'm sure she'll
All
love
right.
it.
Yeah, she good.
Hey, honey, can I get your feedback? She's gonna be like, who, me?
Yeah, she did.
I thought you'd never ask. There you go. Absolutely. All right. So again, chapter 11 is really quick. The only thing I want to focus in on is this thing that you may not be familiar with in terms of its terminology. It's called subjective elements. Basically, is people judge you when they first see you. We know that, right? We call it first impressions. You just have to understand that when you are going to interview and probably even beyond the interview, starting out your new career, yeah, you're the new person, on deck, but when people meet you for the first time, there's a lot of psychological nuances that are happening, right? They're sizing you up, they're looking you up and down. But more importantly than that, let's think about it in terms of this. Anytime you meet a stranger, whether you realize it or not, all of your senses are up. You're noticing everything. You know, I hate to say it, but you notice their smell, you notice their looks, you notice what they have on. You ever think about it? Anytime you meet someone for the first time, it's a self-preservation thing. Like, we're on guard, so we're gonna check you out, right? It's just natural. So when someone meets you for the first time, you're checking them out, they're checking you out, right? So there could be some bias associated with that because these interviewers are meeting a lot of different people, and it is kind of their job to choose the best candidate. And you would say, well, what I smell like shouldn't have anything to do with it. Well, it shouldn't have anything to do with it, but hey, we're human, right? Like, you don't want to be known as the guy that was, smelled like he just, I don't know, had a big ham sandwich on the way in, right? You just don't want to be that guy, right? You just want to be the person that you came in, they remembered everything you said, they didn't remember what you wore, they didn't remember what you smelled like, they didn't remember all the jewelry you had on. And so chapter 11 talks about how to eliminate those biases. That's the reason why when people talk about going to interviews, they say just wear something very nondescript, something brown, blue, gray. Yeah, you're not applying for a job at a bank, but what you're trying to do is to detract from anything else that that person could focus on so that they're forced, I hate to say it, but yeah, they're forced to look at your face because you want them to pay attention to the words that are coming out of your mouth. So you don't want to give anything that else that would stand out. Like I'm gonna tell you right now, it is human nature. I have interviewed so many people in my career, and the ones that stand out are the ones that had something crazy happen. The ones that had something crazy happen. I'll never forget, and this is a kind of on me, so let me wrap myself out. When I was pregnant, many years ago, 12 years ago to be exact, with my daughter, I was up in New York, and pregnant people, we get a little sleepy, okay? And we were interviewing back to back, and this young lady came in to interview. But the problem was, poor thing, her tone was so low. Like, she talked like this, and you know what I really wanted, and I came here because I wanted to do this, and I wanted to do that. And it was like it was so soothing to me. I fell asleep. My boss had to keep kicking me up under the desk because I was dozing off. It was hilarious. My boss was so bad, but I was like, I am so sorry. She was putting me to sleep. Her voice was it was too soothing. Oh my God, it's hilarious. And then I remember one where the young lady we were interviewing, the big position, like the chief financial officer position, right? This lady came in and she did not eat. I know she didn't eat. I don't know if she drank coffee. And she was very, very, small framed. Let me put you guys on mute. I don't want you to make a mistake and say something. Make sure you put your things on mute because I can hear some people in the back. And her stomach growled the entire interview. And I am not, it was gurgling, it was doing all kinds of theatrics. Y'all, I mean, it was louder than she was. Why do I remember that? I should not remember that. I am a professional person, guys, but that is what I remember. Isn't that horrible? And I was trying to rush through the interview because I felt sorry for her. Anybody has secondhand embarrassment, it's me. I am more embarrassed than you are, right? So I'm just trying to get you out of here because clearly you did not eat. Like, you don't want to be that person. And last example, I was interviewing a professor, an English professor. I mean, prestigious guy, but in our college was only a few blocks away from his college, and he still got lost. And by the time he came to the interview, he was sweating profusely, and he could not stop sweating. We gave him towels, we gave him cold water. That just made it worse. Nobody remembered what the guy said. I wanted the guy. but they couldn't look past the fact that he couldn't pull himself together. You see my point? And and regardless of whether you say, "Oh, that should not happen," that's mean, that's whatever, it's human nature. So you want to eliminate those biases. Make sure you arrive on time. Like, don't be the guy that comes in lost and confused and you look disheveled and you don't want to be that person, right? Make sure that you have a healthy, eat something. Like, don't be so nervous that you don't eat breakfast. You don't want your stomach doing crazy stuff. You know, don't overdo the cologne because if the person has allergies, I mean, you just don't want any of those biases because people do judge. Don't wear anything that is, too flashy. Don't wear jewelry that makes a lot of noise. Eliminate as much bias as possible. I promise you it will help. Why is that? Again, it's not because you're so concerned about them judging you, but you want them to not be distracted. You want them just to look into your face. You don't want them to remember anything you had on. You don't want them to remember what you smelled like. Clearly, you want to be clean shaven and smell well, but you want them to remember, oh, yeah, that was Thomas. And remember what Thomas said about this, this, and this, and that. Remember when he talked about this, this, and this, and that. That is what you want them to remember, right? Not anything else. Chapter 11 also just again talks about the obvious stuff, being on time, making a first impression from the receptionist. Guys, I don't know why some people they start interviews and they ignore everybody else until they get to the person they're interviewing with, and all of a sudden they get very jovial and they have these smiles on. And I always say to myself, no, you should have did that stepping into the door, because you are going to be working with everybody, right? And you don't know the relationships, you don't know the dynamics in that environment. So from the receptionist, from the time you get out of your car, you don't even know who you're parking next to. You could be parking next to the person that's going to interview you. You are at the interview from the time you step out of your car. Even when you're in a car, be mindful of what you're doing inside the car. I know that is nuts. People look out the window. You have to think about it. These people there's a bit of anxiety. You're the new person and you're going to come and you're going to be part of their team and they're concerned about the team dynamics. You don't know the person you're replacing. I'm not trying to make it dramatic, but I'm just trying to tell you this is human nature stuff, guys. Everything I'm telling you, I've experienced personally. So not even me specifically, but just me on the internal side, watching my colleagues like peeking out the window, trying to see who it is. And you just want to eliminate that stuff. So be on time, be friendly, be nice to everybody. You are on an interview with everyone until you drive off of that parking lot, right? We talked last week about virtual interviews. The only thing I'm going to say about that is just be as lively as you can if you happen to have a virtual interview, because most times if you have to have one, it's probably going to be with either the HR person or the big boss that just wants to set eyes on you. So just try to be as friendly as possible. Hopefully you don't have to deal with those virtual interviews, but if you do, make sure the technology's right. Make sure you know what type of program they're using, Microsoft Teams versus Google versus whatever. Make sure you are prepared for that. Like, you don't want to have technical issues you know, when you're trying to interview. If you have to do a second interview, this is why I say I prefer panel. That way it's one and done. But if you have to do a second interview, treat it just like your first. Do not get comfortable thinking, ooh, I have a second interview. I'm in there. That doesn't mean that you're in there because you had a second interview. I had a friend, a coworker, a former coworker, when he went off to another college and he was up. I mean, it was a big role, but he was up for that role, but he had worked there, for quite some time. And no lie, he had 10 interviews and he did not get the job. 10. Can you imagine his frustration? He tried to hang in there afterwards, but he ended up leaving. It was just too much for him. Yeah, 10. Yeah, it was a big role that he was up for, but he had to meet with so many different people, and you could not tell him he did not have that job. And they still ended up giving it to somebody they probably already had pre-selected, which is another whole other thing, right? But he couldn't get past it because he just thought he had the job. So you just can't until you have the job, you don't have the job, right? So you treat every interview as if it's your first interview. Don't ever get comfortable, because you never know. The first guy may have liked you, but the second person, she may not like you, and you just don't know. So you treat every interview as if it's the first interview, right? And most importantly, hey, keep looking. Keep looking. Do not get hung up on, oh my goodness, I have a second interview. They must really love me. Yeah, they probably love you and the three other people that they're having a second interview with as well, right? So until you offer me a job, I don't have the job. So what are you going to do? You're going to manage your emotions like the orange slot says, and then you are going to continue your job search, especially after you've asked them where you are in the job hunt and they've said, oh, you're the first one. We have 10 other people to interview. Thank you very much. That's why I have another interview tomorrow. Like nobody has time for that. You need to continue to look until someone offers you a job. So just manage your expectations on that. But if you've been in the job market, you kind of know how that goes, right? Again, like I said, probably not in your first job, but in job hunting, career progression in general, you're supposed to negotiate. You evaluate your job offer that they send you. You've gone through your interview process. They love you. You love them. They send you a job offer. They expect you to negotiate in most cases, right? Respond to your job offer and sign up on it. Like if you love it, that's even better. Obviously we always love it when they offer us something that we want. All right. That's it, guys. I promise I was trying to get you out of here on time. But before we get into this, I do also don't run off. Because I want to talk about today's assignment. I want to make sure we don't get it confused. But for the participation question, very simple. I just want you to show me or tell me what you would wear to a job interview. Each of you are in different, not each of you, but segments of you are in different programs. So your technical instructor should have told you what to wear, and I want to know if you remember what they said. So I want you to tell me what you would wear for your program to an interview. That's what I want to know. Or you can show me. Thank you for all of you that did your videos. I really enjoyed watching them for your elevator pitches. If you want to be brave enough to show me what you would wear, that's great. You don't have to, you can just have it laid out and show me, or you can just write it out and tell me what you would normally wear to your first interview. Want to make sure that you have been listening to that. Now, let me talk a little bit about your assignment for today. It is Career Plan Part 2. Career Plan Part 2. I actually want to pull it up because I want to make sure everybody's reading the instructions on the assignments. I'm noticing that a few students are like missing elements of the assignment, and I think it's because we're not paying attention to everything in the assignment. So we really want to make sure that we're reading the assignment well. Um, Let me pull it up really quickly because you know, step two is a big, you're going to be setting your short-term goals um, for your long-term goal. This is why I kept harping on getting that long-term goal right, because if you don't get the long-term goal right, then how are you going to set short-term steps for your long-term goal? It's not going to make sense. And your end dates are going to be what dictates how long you have to get there. So in this assignment here, step two, please make sure you read the instructions for this assignment. So let's start together. Here it says that in this assignment, you are going to list the short-term goals that you will need to the long-term goal that you did in week 1. Go back to career planning step 1 to get it. If you don't have it, most of you should have it saved, right? You will need your book for this assignment. I say needed. It's a guide. Obviously, you can write it out on your own, but the on page 20 in your textbook, it's going to help you brainstorm some of these steps, right? So if we go back to using the example of a long-term goal that says, my long-term goal is to become a master electrician by 2031 and start my own business by 2034, right? So technically I have 2 long-term goals. How am I going to get there, right? Because it's 2026 and I'm in school. So you have to figure out what are those steps. Now, I did tell a lot of you, you could use Google, you can use AI. Like I would plug it in. I would go to AI and I would say, I'm about to graduate as an electrical technician in 2026. I would like to become a master electrician and own my own business by 2026. And I mean, by 2031 and 2034, please map out my short-term goals and see what it gives you, right? Don't overthink this, guys. Like this is an exercise for you to practice, right? Now, if you already know what those steps should look like, fine. Tech the chapter this chapter 11 on page 20, it's going to show you how to map some ideas out. What you're going to do for this assignment is you're going to tell me those steps, right? So I think what confuses a lot of people is this very simple, and I may change this because I think, people are thinking, I've actually seen people put this, I will learn more, I will practice more, I will get this experience. No, this is just very basic example. This is not what I want to see. I wanted it, your steps will be more specific based upon your goal. So if my long-term goal is to become a master electrician, I'm not going to write I will learn more. My first step may be I will graduate this program in 2026. I will, because I want to be a master electrician, I would secure my first job working for a small low voltage company by 2027 or mid 2026. And in 2028, I will sit for my certification, blah, blah, blah. In 2029, I will try to get a job as a supervisor, blah, blah, blah. In 2031, in 2030, I will start, uh, studying for my electrician test. In 2031, I will take my test, right? That's what I want to see, right? So that's why it's so important to have the dates because you're trying to plan it out, right? And the more you plan it out, the more you're willing to you're going to use it. Because if you have a roadmap, it's kind of like you're trying to go from point A to point B. If you know exactly how to get there and you have the map, you're more confident, right? As opposed to you're trying to get somewhere and you don't know where you're going, right? Everybody's like confused, like where do I go? Where do I turn, right? So you have to think about your career and under those same, under that same lens, right? Does that make sense? I also put a goal worksheet here you can use. There's a short video on short-term and long-term goals, right? So what do I want to see? I want to see the steps. Some people may have 3 steps, some people may have 5 steps. It all is dependent upon your goals. Go ahead, Ian. We don't hear you, Ian. Okay, so while he's trying to get his mic together. Does everyone understand that? So here, all you're doing is doing the steps. So I want to see long-term goal steps. You can use the worksheet if it helps you. But guys, really, really try to get this part right. Because in week 3, you're going to put it all together in a summary. So you need to get this part right. All right. So there's a lot to help you. So make sure you do it. And again, and then take note that this is worth 200 points. Remember I said that your career plan project is 15% of your grade and it's 3 steps. The first step was that long-term goal. The second step are these steps to the long-term goal. And then the third step will be the summary in week 4. Any questions?
Hey, I got a question, but it's not for this assignment. It's for the one where we're interviewing somebody.
Yep, go
It
ahead.
has, it has to be somebody in a leadership position or somebody that has their own business.
Well, that's leadership. Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
it can be anybody that, yeah, if you're running your own business, you can't get more leadership than that. That'll do.
All right, we're just discussing how the interview with them just went, or any
No,
feedback
this is
they would give
a,
us.
no, this is not, so don't confuse This is a informational interview, right? So this is you
Yeah.
trying to get feedback. This is you picking their brain. You're interviewing them
Okay.
by asking them questions about your career or about their career, right? If you chose them for a reason. So let's say I chose my cousin because he owns his own business and I want to start my own business one day. So what do you want to know from a business owner? Now's your time to ask. And the idea is for him to give you feedback. Okay, Tom, I've always wanted to own my own business and I'm in this course and, I want to become a master electrician one day and own my own business. I know you own your own business. What do you want to know? Hey, you could just ask them, what are your thoughts? What should I do? How is it managing other people? I did give you some questions if you have no idea what to ask, but
Yeah.
ideally, you should know what you want to talk about. If, talk about your aspirations and get their feedback.
All right. Thank you.
And you have until this Wednesday to actually do that conversation, right? So
Okay.
last week it was just to tell me what the person who it was you're going to talk to, but you have a whole week to try to talk to them. And it can be over the phone. It doesn't have to be in person.
All right. And this, we can always change the person if we end up not talking to the one we
Right.
sent
Yeah.
to.
If that
Okay.
person's not available, it's not on you. You can talk to somebody else.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. Um, Go ahead, Adam. Is it Adam?
You mean Anthony?
Go ahead. Yeah, you know what? It only said A, and I was just I was guessing. I was like, maybe it's Adam.
Um,
Go ahead, Anthony.
before I hop off here, I was looking at the modules and stuff, but I don't see anything for the live question for today. Like
Okay,
for
I'll
week
double
three
check.
Monday, it says week three assignment, career plan, step two, and that's it.
Okay, maybe it's I'll check it. Let me see. Um, let me just see real quick. I'm looking at it, but maybe is it off? Hold on. Previous. All right, sorry, just refresh it. It's on. Let me know.
Um, are we just adding the short-term goals to this assignment where
Yeah,
you're
for your
saying,
assignment, you're just adding your short-term goals to your long-term goal.
okay, so if we, because you said the long-term goals that I picked is not long-term, so would I have to do the whole thing?
Um, we can discuss your specific situation once I let everyone go. But in general,
All right.
if I say, for example, like somebody said, and hypothetically, my goal is to graduate this program. That's not a long-term goal. That's actually a short-term goal. What do you plan on doing with after you graduate this program? My long-term goal is to become a master electrician. My long-term goal is to become a specialized technician in low voltage. Like, what's your ultimate goal? You see what I'm saying? Because your long-term goals needs to be at least 5 years out. So you need to think about, okay, what am I trying to do with my career? And then your short-term steps, the first step obviously is going to be to graduate this program. See how that's a short-term goal?
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
that's why in week one, we spent time trying to figure out what our long-term goal is. That's why I wanted you guys to do some research. Like, you need to know your industry. You need to know where you're going. Like, what's your goal? Your goal can't just be to get a job. I mean, this is a career. So you have to think through, what am I trying to do ultimately?
Yeah, well, I had long-term goals the first time, but you told me it had to been with the career. I'm not
Yeah,
specifically.
I mean, I don't know you specifically, but I also said this is a career goal, not financial goal, not I want to buy a house, I want to be a real estate agent, I want to take care of my family. Those are personal aspirations. Those are not
No,
career
no, I
goals.
mean like it was a different career. Like I
Yeah,
was using this career as a stepping stone, and you asked for a long-term goal. So I I said I want to own a couple machines, heavy equipment machines,
yeah,
buy
and I
and
think, and I
stuff.
may have said to you, what do you want to do with that? Like the goal is not to own machines. Like why you want to own those equipment?
Yeah, I said that.
Let's
You
talk.
said you need to set a long-term goal for the program you are in. So I guess,
Right. Yeah, because even if you want to have machines to do what?
yeah, I said it in the
No,
text.
tell me now. I don't remember.
Heavy equipment machines to send them back to the islands. Start a business to move like heavy equipment machines like excavators, bulldozers, stuff like that.
Like transportation?
No, no, no. Like if you want to clear a piece of land, heavy
Okay.
equipment machines. Yeah,
Okay. Give me 1 second, Malik. How do you? Is it Melchi?
Melky.
Melky. Hold tight. I'll discuss I'll help you out in a second. Any other questions, guys? All right.